To the United States we go now. Early voting in Indianapolis came to a close around noon as a long queue of voters waited to cast their ballots. In Chicago, voter turnout was at a record high with the largest number of ballots cast in the early hours. Control of both the chambers of the U.S. Congress and 36 governors' offices are up for grabs in today's election. Opinion polls and election forecasters favor Democrats to pick up the minimum of 23 seats they need on Tuesday to capture a majority in the U.S. House of Representatives. However, Republicans are favored to retain their slight majority in the U.S. Senate, currently at 2 seats, which would let them retain the power to approve U.S. Supreme Court and other judicial nominations on straight party line vote. Our correspondent Sherwin Bryce-Pease spoke to voters a short while ago.
I would love it that it seems like our country is very divided right now. I hope it binds us together and brings some happiness and hope that we are more similar than we are different.
This day says that it's very important to speak for your rights, to be free, and also to be yourself.
I mean, voting is important, it's necessary, it's a right that we all have, and I think this one is especially important because we need to get certain people out, and we need our voices heard.
I think it's really important. I just became a citizen, so it's my first time voting, and so, little change happens one person at a time, so that's why I'm out here, and I hope everyone else votes too.
We're progressive people that the stuff that we thought was working before, it just isn't. And now we are voting in people who are going to believe in the things that we believe in. And, that's things for change and positivity and inclusivity with everyone.
I think what I see, because I watch different media, so I watch conservative media, I watch more of the liberal media, and I think I see the bias in reporting. And I think the more mainstream Democrats are actually going to be voting for a Republican because I think the left has gone too far left.
All right, let us now cross live to our reporter Sherwin Bryce-Pease, who's in Harlem for us this afternoon. Sherwin, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming through. A very important day it is for the United States. We've witnessed the hype between the Democrats and the Republicans over a few weeks now. The voters, we've just played a clip where you spoke to some of them. It looks like they recognize the importance of voting today.
It is an absolutely important historic election, and I think the culmination of a debate that has lasted from before Donald Trump's final figures came in November 2016, his inauguration, and I think campaigning started the very next day, Palesa. We are at a polling station here in Harlem, New York, just sort of north of Manhattan. This is blue country. This is where the blue wave is probably going to be most visible, not necessarily reflective of the rest of the country, but what we are seeing, and we are seeing this being mirrored around the country. There has been a strong turnout in early voting. We can share figures with you. Some 31 million votes have been cast in this election before Tuesday arrived, and that is more than the 19 million people that turned out to vote at the same period in the 2014 midterm election. So what is clear is that there's a great deal of enthusiasm on both sides of this. At the end of the day, what we need to see is where the actual final numbers fall. Will the Republicans be able to hold on to the Senate? Will the polling bear out and see Democrats win back the House of Representatives? Because if they don't, then this will be an affirmation of what President Donald Trump has been doing in the United States, that his rhetoric is resonating, that his policies are popular, and that the Democrats have to go back and rethink their strategy. That's not what the polls are telling us. The polls are saying the Democrats have a plus 86% chance of taking back the House. And it starts in polling stations like this. I'm just going to point out kind of the process that we have ongoing here. People walk in, they go to an information desk, Palesa, they confirm that they're on the voters' roll and they get their voting district. They then come over here and you can see there are different voting districts where people then pick up their ballot sheet. And I'm actually going to go a little closer here and show you exactly what the ballot sheet looks like. It has a number of people on the ballot, from the governor, from the lieutenant governor, various candidates for the House race, various local races in terms of the local state house and local state legislature in New York. And this would be emblematic of many electoral ballots around the country. Of course, they all look different. They all have different candidates. Remember, this is not a presidential election. This is a House and congressional election. So you have different candidates, different names around the country. And the process is being handled by different boards of election in different states. We just actually managed to speak earlier, and I'm just going to ask Aaron to follow me. We spoke earlier to two commissioners, one Democrat, one Republican, from the Board of Elections in New York, and they said voter turnout is at a record. We asked them what is driving the voter turnout. The Republicans said, well, certainly in New York State, Donald Trump is not very popular here. This is a very blue state. This is a bastion of the Democratic Party, and his Democratic counterpart, the Democratic commissioner on the Board of Elections, said he agreed with his Republican counterpart. I'm just going to show you. This is where people go and actually cast their ballots, the various round holes that need to be filled next to each candidate's name. And then the final process, if you'll just turn with me, Aaron, is the electronic machines where that voting ballot is inserted. It is inserted, and those machines will be unlocked for tally once polling stations close in New York around 7 p.m. Some polling stations around 9 p.m. tonight. Balesa?
Say, Sherwin, that the turnout for midterm elections is traditionally lower than that in the presidential elections. Many people, many analysts have been of the view that the results could sort of bring some dramatic changes to the United States. Let's talk about that a little.
Well, you're right. I mean, historically, presidential elections tend to draw out Democratic voters more than Republican voters. In the midterms, the sort of off-key election, the one that's sort of in between the big one, right? They tend to bring out Republican, conservative, older voters, those that have more time, those that perhaps don't have to go to a job every day, some people that are perhaps more affluent than others. But what we are seeing, and this is the difference here, is that in some states like Florida, for example, we are seeing Democratic turnout match, if not supersede or exceed the Republican turnout. That might not necessarily be reflected everywhere. What we're also hearing is that there's been a big turnout in the 18 to 35 category, essentially what we call the youth vote. The lethargic voter that doesn't perhaps want to get off the couch or doesn't see the importance of this. We're seeing a switch in the young vote. People are engaged. We saw the youth engagement in terms of gun policy, particularly after the Orlando and the school shootings down in Florida State. We're seeing a huge youth turnout there. We're seeing record numbers turn out in states like Texas, in states like Tennessee, and in states like Nevada and Arizona. These are key states where there are important senatorial races, states that are going to decide whether Democrats actually stand a chance here of not only taking the House of Representatives, but also having some impact on the Senate race. Palesa?
All right, Sherwin, time constraints. Let's leave it at that for now. Thank you so much for coming through. We'll be getting in touch once again with our correspondent, Sherwin Bryce-Pease, in a short while here on the show. But coming back home now, the embezzlement